Welcome to this week's podcast, where I am going to, or we are going to consider the difference between saying I have to, fill in the blank, versus I want to, fill in the blank. So many people that I coach come to me, well, I have to feed my children. I have to make it healthy. I have to exercise. I have to do this report. I have to go to work. I have to pay my taxes. And whenever we put have into a sentence, it always creates a tension. Um, it can create resentfulness. It can be like an obligation, all of which don't really feel good. They don't feel good. It doesn't feel good. When we say I have to, it doesn't feel good. And what I'd like to consider, or what I'd like to invite you to consider, is swapping your have tos to want tos. So let's take feeding our children. Okay. So the law does tell us that we, as parents, we are responsible for looking after our children. If we neglect their basic needs, there can be criminal repercussions. It's same with taxes, right? We get taxed on our income. If we don't pay our taxes, there is a criminal consequence. But when we actually look at the consequence, we don't want it. We don't actually want the consequence. We don't want to go to prison for not paying our taxes, or we don't want a fine for not paying our taxes, or we don't want our children to become malnourished or poorly or weak. So when we actually look beneath the I have to, it is so much truer to say I want to. And you can do the same with I've got to versus I get to. I heard this recently. I've got to wait for a train. Well, there would be some people that would love to wait for a train. You could say, I get to wait for the train. I've got to go to work. I have to go to work. You don't actually have to go to work. You don't actually have to feed your children, but you get to. And it's so much truer to say you want to because you want to look after your children. You want to be able to pay your bills. You don't want to go to prison for not paying your taxes. And when you say, I want to, it just feels so much more open, so much more expansive, and it feels so much nicer to say, I want to, or I get to, versus I have to, or I've got to. So I just want you to think about how often in your life you're saying, I have to, dot. And I want you just to practice catching yourself. When you hear that, just catch yourself and just question it with so much compassion. This is not a judgment exercise. This is not a belittling exercise. It's not a, do you though? Like, do you have to? No, that will feel even more shit. But you do get to go, hang on a minute. Is that true? Do I have to? Or would it be better and truer to say, I want to? We can talk about your job. You don't have to do anything. Even if there are policies, processes, and procedures in place, even though there is a law that says there are things that we should be doing, as a human on this planet, we have the right to freedom. We live in a country where we have free will, fortunately. Not everybody does, by the way, but we were fortunate enough to live and be raised if you are listening to this from a country that has freedom. If you're listening on a podcast, I'm guessing you probably do, but we are fortunate enough to have freedom to believe, freedom to think, freedom to make our own choices, freedom to decide. But when you say I have to, it feels like you don't have a choice. And if you don't have a choice, that's a really crap place to be. It feels really shit when we don't think we have a choice. Versus saying I want to or I choose to just feels now we have a choice. We are making a choice that is actually what I want to do. So this, one of the biggest ways I apply this in my life is cooking. I actually enjoy cooking. What I don't enjoy is having to do it every day, making it healthy and something that everybody wants to eat. I don't enjoy that. And I'm like, oh, I have to cook. Oh, I have to clean. Oh, I have to do the washing again. So I catch myself and I acknowledge that that's what my brain is doing. And I take a really nice deep breath, go, okay, Nikki, do you know what? You do actually want to look after your children. You do want to provide them with a healthy meal. And my brain has, and I have this kind of inner dialogue with myself. And then like the other part of my brain goes into like this teenage huff, almost like, and I'm like, come on, we do actually want to cook a healthy meal for your boys. Socks. I seem to forever be picking up socks around my house. I don't know what it is with my family. They come in the house, they take off their socks, the socks drop wherever they may be, and those socks stay there. And every once in a while, I will get them to go and tidy it up. But what I don't do anymore is when I choose to tidy up, I don't do that huffing and puffing and ranting and raving. I don't have to pick up the socks. I could leave the socks on the floor. But I choose to, I want to pick up the socks because I like to have a tidy space. Do I think my boys should do it? Yeah, I do. Do they? No. So all the shoulding in the world, they should is just arguing with reality because they don't. It's not important to them. They don't like, and my husband doesn't really, it doesn't bother them if the washing is left on the side, like the pots and pans and plates, dirty plates are left on the side. That doesn't bother them. It only bothers me because I identify as a minimalist and I have this belief that I don't like clutter. But there will be someone that walks into my house and goes, "This is not clutter. You should see my house or you should see my neighbor's house." And so when I do tidy, when I do pick up socks, when I do the clothes washing and the food cooking, I now just remind myself with a lot of kindness, Nikki, this is actually what you want to do. And there are times when I still don't really want to do it, but I do want to give my boys a healthy meal. So I do it even without the motivation. We don't have to be motivated to do stuff in our life. What? Just listen to that again a second. We don't actually have to feel motivated to do things, especially if you have your own business or in your job. There will be tasks that you are just never, ever, ever going to be motivated to do. So then learning the skill of doing it anyway is huge. Maybe I'll do a separate podcast all on motivation. But coming back to the have tos and the want tos or got to and I get to, putting things into perspective is not as a way to beat yourself up or belittle your experience, but just as a way to go, oh, okay, I actually have a choice because someone else could experience this situation and be very grateful for it. So, an example of that could be driving to work and you're sat in traffic. Oh, God, I have to drive to work. I have to sit in this traffic. No, you don't. You don't, but you get to. And there will be someone in the world that stood on a bus stop in the rain, looking at you in your car, thinking, I wish I was in my car. I wish I had a car. I wish I was in my car, sat in traffic. I wish I had that option. So, again, this is not a belittling exercise. It's not a critical exercise. This is not another tool to beat yourself up with. So, don't do that. But it is a great way of going, hang on a minute. I have a choice here. I have a choice. I could leave the socks on the floor. I could let the boys cook their own food. I could choose to do that if I wanted to. And sometimes I do. Sometimes I get them to do everything. But if I'm going to choose to do it, knowing my reason why, and then knowing that actually I'm choosing to and I want to, it's just so much more powerful. It just feels so much better in your body. So the next time you notice, just start to be aware now, because awareness is the first step, acknowledging that kind of habit and behavior. And you can apply this to shoulds as well. I should, it should, they should. Change it to could. They could. I could. Exercise is one of them. I should exercise. I have to exercise. No, you don't. No one said you had to exercise. Yes, it's physically good for your body, and having your body physically healthy enables you to have a healthier mindset. But I do believe mindset comes first because you have to overcome yourself in order to do it sometimes. Or for some of you, it's overcoming yourself not to do it, to maybe not go for a run and do some yoga, or maybe not go to the gym because your body's, maybe you've got a headache and a sore throat. So I'm actually going to give myself permission to relax tonight, do some breathing or meditation. But it starts with the mindset and it starts with overcoming that have to, got to, should, and changing it to I want to, I get to, I could. Such a difference. And if you don't notice it in your dialogue, start to notice it in other people's. It's fascinating. You get to see other people's thinking so much easier than you see your own. Which is why I love life coaching, right? It's because I can see other people's thoughts at a point where they just think they're telling the news. I'm like, no, no, that's not that what you've just said there is not a fact. And they're like, because when it's not a fact, now you have a choice. And having a choice is powerful. And we always have a choice in every situation. I'm not saying that choice should be positive, but you do always have a choice. So over this week, just have a practice. Just have a go at becoming aware of how you're speaking out into the world or in your head. And start to practice a little difference and just notice the shift in you because it'll be there. And as always, if you need any further help with it, this is what I do. This is what I'm an expert in. So get in touch because I'd love to help you. Have an amazing week, and I'll see you all again next week. Bye.